how do you think about the team and the key constituents of the team? Obviously, there's sort of the founder, and presumably a big part of their role is on the investment side, and maybe, I don't know, a level of redundancy, depth on the investment role, but then also some of the other things we talked about, the realities of running a business, thinking through distribution. Like what does a good candidate look like?
Yeah, so for Stable, we're actually looking for two things, a great investor and a great entrepreneur. And taking a step back, maybe it's helpful to share how we are aligned with our partners, and then ultimately how we're aligned with our founders. Our clients come to us, big endowments, sovereign wealth funds, Aussie Supers, that sort of thing. And they come to us to effectively de-risk the business for them and allow them to scale into that manager over time. They don't actually care about $50 in the fund, they care about $500 million in capacity on the back end. So if you think of that core risk that they're taking, they're not really most allocators are not being compensated for the new business risk in early stage emerging managers. So with that mindset, they're bringing a group like Stable in to effectively de-risk it day one, help set up the operations and the infrastructure and the distribution side as well. And so as we think through the components of that, what does it take to build the business? Finding that great investor and entrepreneur, because we're all aligned with the growth of this thing. And so more often than not, that is a unicorn to find someone who is both. We're typically complementing or building a team around them to help grow. Thinking through the characteristics or the skill sets of those individuals, right? As a great PM, you have to be contrarian, detail-oriented. As an entrepreneur, it's typically bigger picture, consensus building. And so as we're complementing one team member with another, those are the types of value-add services that a group like ours comes in to help provide. Recruiting, talent management, compensation structures, all those sorts of things are not top of mind for a PM spinning out of Apollo. We'll keep picking on that one. Yeah. So how do we think about the team? It's leaning on at least us, the Cedar, to help augment it where appropriate.
Yeah, that's very well said. And we are not a dedicated Cedar per se, right? So like I said, it's more by appointment with guys we've worked with and know. So it's a little bit of a different approach. Our core competency is picking good managers, right? So an extension of that is trying to be creative about structuring the partnership to maximize value if and when it makes sense with the right folks. Being mindful that this is a marriage and what is a value proposition for them and for us. I'm curious what you would say, Chris, but I don't know what your expected hit rate is, but and how you define success and failure, but a lot of hedge funds don't make it, right? So if you think a little bit about a VC approach to making these bets with these call options, whenever the ones that work, you want to get paid for it, but you want to pair that with something that on an underlying performance level you feel good about sort of your asset base. And it's not a binary proposition, right? Maybe it's, hey, they couldn't fundraise or they didn't knock it out of the park, but we made a little money or lost a little money and this call option didn't work. But when it works, you want it to work and justify the tremendous investment up front, right? Structuring things, negotiating the agreements, getting to know these people, living and breathing with them, helping them with the various parts of their business. It's much easier to just allocate to an existing fund and not think about it and take those risks, right? So from our seat, it's a pretty high bar to go down this path.
I think you're absolutely right, Cesar. The seeding model is very much like a venture capital model where a few big winners really drive the outcomes. And so that power law concept is something that we focus intently on. So most specifically for us, we're really trying to effectively cut off that left tail in the bell curve and really skew the distribution towards the winners. So for us, we're extremely focused on not failing with these businesses. It sounds very, very simple, but there's so many very common sense things that typical PMs or CIOs don't always think about. Hiring your spouse as the CFO of the business. We laugh, but the reality is we see that often. So these are very common sense things.